Okay. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you are having a beautiful morning or evening or day so far. So today we're going to talk about how do we, well, one, if anybody needs some help with creating your individualized practices for your 40-day manifestation plan, let me know, pop it into the chat, and I'm happy to talk that through and do that with you. So the topic I kind of wanted to do today is how do you keep moving forward even when things get tough, and kind of what to expect in the manifestation process. Because quite honestly, you know, as I said in my email, it's not all unicorns, kittens, and cotton candy. Like it's not. There are times when everything seems to go wrong before everything starts to go right. Okay. And so how do you get yourself through that process of things feeling like they're going the wrong direction? And how do we notice if that's a breakdown or a breakthrough, right? And I've been through this process, guys, multiple times. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've been working on changing some things and manifesting some new things along with you guys. And there have been days and even the better part of a couple of weeks that have been tough. I mean, there are, I have groups and things that I'm in that can help. I'm in a mastermind that can help to just make sure that as you're up leveling as a person or as a business owner or whatever you're trying to do, that you have support and that you have inspiration. So what do you expect as you're starting to move even deeper through this process? Certainly as you start to put your daily practices together and actually start to commit to doing them on a daily basis. So one of the things that I often notice as soon as, whether it's myself or anyone else, is starting to move into that process and really committing, like I've made a decision, I've decided this is how this goes, is things decide, it's the equivalent of a healing crisis in the body. Things decide to kind of kick up a bit, right? So you'll have a situation where you're going along and everything seems fine, and maybe some things you expected to have happen just blow up, right? They just blow up and it's like, oh my God, what am I doing? Am I doing the wrong thing? Am I going the wrong direction? Have I not done something right? And know that if you are, well, here's what to always check on. If you have been doing the practices and things as I have given them. And again, for anybody who hasn't been able to be here through every single training, through every single little bit of this process, it's fine. Just pick up and start where you're at. Okay. You can always go to the book and go and pick it up, like just go in and read parts of it. I honestly do that. Sometimes I'll just open up the book to wherever it opens up and just see what I need for that day. And I'll trust that I'm aligning properly for what I need that day. So how do we then, so if you've been doing all of those, if you've been doing these things, if you've been here with me for the meditations, some of you guys have been here, and I'm so grateful, on a daily basis, making that commitment to yourself. If you've been doing those things, then when you start to see some things really shake up, and it seems like maybe relationships are falling apart, or suddenly something happens and you get an unexpected bill, or suddenly you get like some news at your job, or whatever that is, that seems like, oh my God, I'm just starting on this path. Like, what is happening? Am I going the right direction? Am I doing the right thing? If you have been doing all these practices and doing this stuff and committing to it, then it is in fact part of the breakthrough. Okay. So I just want you to expect that as things, I always say, like, when you see these things happen, sometimes it's the universe shuffling the cards in your favor, right? So we're up to now maybe, and I'm not a card player, so forgive me if this isn't a very good metaphor, but let's say you've had a hand like this whole time, okay? You've got a hand and it's an okay hand. Maybe you've got a pair of something. I think that's good. But you don't have a flush, and you certainly don't have a royal flush, which would like be the winning thing, the end all be all. I think that's the end all be all. So, and so you've got this, okay? And you've been holding on to it all this time. And then suddenly you say to the dealer, essentially, I want new cards, like shuffle, shuffle. Well, when it shuffles, you got to give up things. Some things are gonna move. Why? Because they're no longer the frequency that matches you as you are up leveling. Okay. So sometimes these things will happen where it's like going everywhere, right? And suddenly you're like, what is happening? It doesn't make sense. But if that's happening right now, and you have been making these moves to shift your life, then I can 100% assure you it's not that you're going the wrong direction. It's that the cards are starting to be shuffled in your favor. But when that happens, it looks a lot like chaos. It looks a lot like, what the bleep is happening? Honestly, it does. And you guys, I can tell you this from experience of my own life, of going through this, I don't know how many times at this point, over and over and over, because again, I never ask you guys to do things that I don't do myself. So when I say that I have walked the path of this, I have truly walked the path of this. I have a poop hand this morning. Oh, poor Rachel, I'm sorry. I have a poop hand this morning. I joined this just in time to hear this important message. Well, good, see? Okay, there's a good alignment message right there. Thank you, Rachel. I'm sorry you have a poop hand, but trust me, it's being shuffled in your favor. You're laying down the cards you don't need, and you're gonna get some cards back that you did. So this is a good message of alignment though. You guys, have you ever, and Rachel's an example, but have you ever had a moment where suddenly you tune in just at that right moment, and something, it's the message you needed for that day, right? Or you turn on the radio and it's the song you needed for that moment. This happens to me all the time. Or I've been in coffee houses and sitting there and like maybe doing work, writing an article or something, and then I'll hear somebody say something and it's exactly what I was just wondering or thinking about, right? So one of the things to look for as you are, happens to you too, Joan, yeah, as you are realigning and doing these things, as you are doing these practices, as you are actively saying, okay, I want something more, I want something different, I'm understanding that I have limitations that have had nothing to do with me, that got programmed in a long, long time ago without my conscious awareness, but now I'm going to actively shift that. When that happens, what I want you to keep looking for are, what are these moments of synchronicity? What are the breadcrumbs on the trail that are saying you are heading the right direction? Because I promise you, they're there. And if you feel beat up and like things suck, I receive signs every day. Yes, 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 every day. There's breadcrumbs every day. However, if you're feeling sucky, for lack of a better term, if you're feeling beat up, if you're feeling lost, then that's where you want to post in the group. Let us know. Let me know what's going on. Okay. That's part of a support process for you. And I'm going to talk tomorrow about how maybe you can step into some deeper support processes where you really can get additional help with me and kind of go deeper and make sure things are really aligning for you. Okay. And I've got some cool things that I'm going to be doing that I'm very excited about, that I'm going to be doing, that I think are going to be really great for all of you. So that said, so you will have days, and the more that you stay in a spot, and let me tell you, I understand this before I even say it, there's zero judgment here. I have done it myself. The more you stay in a place where you're like, poor me, this sucks, I can't go on, I'm upset, I'm this, I'm that, the less you're going to see the breadcrumbs and the signs. They're there. But if all we're looking at is the negative or the bad, we're going to keep seeing the negative and the bad, right? It's the life detector. It's the particle detector aspect where we've set expectations, right? And I love that. I think a lot of different people talk about this, but when we've decided on, we want to buy a new car and we like a certain kind of car, right? And all of a sudden, everywhere we go, we just see that car on the road. Like about a year and a half ago, I needed a new car. Well, actually, my husband and I had one car for a really long time. And then little one was going off to a school that was like 20-minute drive for us. And suddenly we realized that between the two of us, we just had too many things going on and we would need a second car. And I was doing like Taekwondo at night, and if they were coming back from dance, whatever. So I decided, okay, and I love Mini Coopers. I have always loved Mini Coopers. They're just super cute and happy and fun to drive. So I've had two before. And I was like, you know what? I know it's Denver, we get crazy snow here, but they're 4-wheel drive. It'll be fine. Or you can get them 4-wheel drive. So the next thing I knew, as soon as I, in my mind, was like, all right, I'm looking for a Mini Cooper. In the next like maybe month and a half, we're going to actually go to the Mini dealership, see what they've got. I saw more minis. Like I hadn't been paying. I really was like, oh my God, everybody, like people have minis. People have minis. It's the same kind of thing. Once we've sort of set our mind on this is the decision, right? I had made the decision. That's the car I'm getting, right? It's not the wondering. We're not still in the wondering phase, although there's many breadcrumbs that are leading us in the wondering phase. Once we've made that decision that this is what's going to happen in my life, this is how I want things to go, suddenly things start to pop up. Things start to show up. We start to tune in and see a message again, maybe in little ways at first, then bigger, then bigger, then bigger. Okay. And then finally, the alignment. The thing comes in. The next thing I want to talk about with this though, guys, is to understand that sometimes things don't happen as fast as we want them to. Okay. So manifestation, while sometimes it can happen in an instant, if everything happens to be all lined up and all the little factors that you need are just there and they magically align, sometimes it can happen in an instant. Sometimes we can have that quantum flash where everything clears and we just are able to align exactly with what we want in the source or collective unconscious, the quantum potential. Okay, that's great. Like that can totally happen, and that can happen in a day immediately. However, oftentimes we see people, right, and they're overnight successes. And the truth of the matter is nothing happened overnight. We didn't see, like, I love Ed Sheeran. He just seems like a wonderful human being. And while I actually didn't like his first album that much, I've liked everything else since then. And he just seems like a good person that's constantly pushing himself to try new things and have new boundaries, right? And when Ed Sheeran like came on the scene, it was like Ed Sheeran everywhere, right? He suddenly had made it. But when you look at his life story, he had been taking trains to different places all over England and standing on the street and singing, like for no money. He was basically broke. Over and over and over. He believed in himself so much that he kept taking these very uncomfortable actions to lead him to what suddenly seemed like an overnight success, but it wasn't. It was the constant, repetitive belief in himself, picking him. I mean, he was like sleeping on one of his friends' couches for a while, like picking himself up, doing the hard things over and over again, saying, okay, I'm going to look at this and I'm realigning. I'm going to keep going. And suddenly, Ed Sheeran everywhere, right? It's the same for us, you guys. It's the same. So while you can take what looks like a quantum leap, I've taken them myself, and I've had suddenly one day, the day before was just bad, sucky, and I was stuck. And the next day, suddenly everything opened up. And that seems like it is a quantum leap. People talk about it all the time. You see spiritual people talking about, oh, take the quantum leap. What they're not telling you is there's a lot of hard work that leads to the quantum leap. And you guys are in the phase of getting that work done. You're in the phase of getting these practices out there, getting this done, doing it on a daily, basis, clicking in with this training, doing the meditations, right? Those are the steps. Those are like the Ed Sheeran taking a train to different places in England and putting himself out there for God knows what people were saying to him on the streets, right? You're taking those same steps. And I like to liken this whole quantum leap thing or overnight success thing to kind of, if you imagine a high dive, right? And you see the people doing the high dive. I'm always like, cannot believe people dive off these things like that, but whatever. I'm not a high dive person, but let's say, right? Someday I had lost my mind, decided to go up a high dive. No, if we think about the quantum leap the same way, right? Think about if there's 45 rungs up to the top of this high dive, right? You did all the work. The leap is the high dive. The leap is, woo, we've jumped out and wow, everything's starting to come together for us. It's finally aligning. Hopefully everybody has had at least one moment in their life where everything seemed to align like magic, okay? I've had those moments. The house I live in was one of those moments. Meeting my wonderful husband and knowing it was literally love at first sight, that was one of those moments. having everything aligned for my beautiful daughter, that was one of those moments. But there was a bleep load of struggle and realignment and belief in myself that had to happen to get to the quantum leap, to get to the moment that aligned. So if you think about every little thing you're doing right now as you're taking another rung and another rung and another rung, okay? And it's not always easy. And sometimes you look down and you think, what am I doing up here? This is scary. And then you go, nope, I got it. And you keep that faith in yourself and you take another leap and you take another step and another step and another step. And finally you're up in the high dive and you can take that quantum leap. It seems like an instant success, an overnight success, a quantum leap. But what people didn't know, what they didn't see, is all that climbing you did. And every little rung is another practice you've done, another little bit of work you've done on yourself. Another time you sat down and said, okay, wait, let me look at this. Where is this belief coming from? How do I shift it? Another time you chose to tune in and be here with me, right? All of those things are the little pieces on the rung that gets you to the platform where you can have the quantum leap, okay? So when you see people being like, oh, take a quantum leap, it's just so easy, it's this, it's that. It is and it isn't. There's always steps along the way that get you to the place that now you've aligned that inner self to be able to be ready for everything that's about to come to you, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. So how do we keep ourselves going when we are having, like poor Rachel today, having a bit of a bad hand, as it were, from a card standpoint? I find it very funny. The most cards I play right now is Go Fish with my daughter. But at any rate, so how do we do it? What do we do to keep ourselves going? One, you can post in the group, right? You can post in the group. Two, you can go back, you can watch trainings, you can do a meditation that's going to realign you. But more so, and this is what's on the manifestation plan as well, is relying upon whatever your inspiration team is. So I want you to think about, and even think about if you've got your journal now and today, what are things that you can do that when you are having that off day, when you're feeling like this is just not working and not aligning, what can you do? One thing I would suggest is making sure that you are sitting down and doing your morning practice. And the morning practice needs to be, whether it's reading my book, reading other people, like this is one that I absolutely love. You Are a Badass at Making Money. She also has You're a Badass, I think it's just called, which usually, I think it's in my, I've been reorganizing my whole office. I think it's down in my bag. Jen Sincero, okay, she's just funny, if nothing else. Like, she writes in such a way, as you can see, I love it. I pick it up all the time and I reread all the time because it just helps me to realign. One of the places, honestly, guys, that I get stuck is around accepting financial stuff for all the work that I do. Completely truthfully, like that is an underlying, we could have a whole session on my underlying programming that I've had to reprogram over prosperity and abundance. Okay. So I have had to do the hard work. I'm telling you, I still have to do it, guys. There are triggers I still have to do. So finding something that is inspiring to you to read. There's lots of people that have also great things on, I've got a bunch of stuff on YouTube you can listen to, and I'm putting more out every week now. But also there are people that I absolutely love, like Meyer-Robson. Meyer-Robson, she's one of those people that knows exactly how to be quite succinct in giving you a little bit tidbits of inspiration. So that can be super helpful. I love Brendon Burchard. He's another fantastic one that I have watched and listened to for a very long time. So those are things that, maybe having a podcast like that in your car. I'm actually going to be taking this program and turning it into a podcast that you'll be able to listen to as well. And so that'll be an option for you. So those are options, but what other things can you do when you are having an off day? So I just had a client of mine who I absolutely adore. She's the most beautiful human being, but she went through a situation where she had a lot of lack forced upon her and a lot of, how do I say it? She wasn't allowed to necessarily take care of herself at all. Like, we've had to literally refine what were the things that were going to be meaningful for her, because she had it almost erased over a period of time. And one of the things we realized is, like, there was an aspect of nourishment for her. And she loves sweets. She likes chocolate. She likes like ice cream and like gluten-free things. She has to do gluten-free. And so one day on one of our calls, we made a list of places that were easy for her to get to from where she's at, that she could quickly go and get herself a treat that was just for her, that she could just go out and be like, I'm going to go get a little thing of ice cream. I'm going to go get a little chocolate. There's like a chocolatier that's actually not that far from her. And I've been so proud of her because she's been actively doing this. And in doing this, one of that little tiny action of going and getting herself a really lovely chocolate and savoring it and having a cup of tea with it, and just for herself with no one else there, which I'm also proud of her for, with no one else there, going and taking it upon herself to go do this for herself, is nourishing herself, not just physically, but it's nourishing her spirit. It's nourishing her mind. It's nourishing her energy. Okay. So those are the things, guys. I would like you to think through, what are things that you can go to that are going to uplift you on these days when things seem to be going bad. And sometimes one of the things is to walk away for a little bit. If you've been pushing on things, that's one of my things. I push. I keep pushing and pushing. And one of the messages I've been receiving over and over again, and I'm going to give it to you today, is you have to leave space for the universe to do its job. Okay. So if you are a person like me that tries to think 10 steps forward all the time and plan everything and make everything somehow work, right? If we do that, we're just always going out, but we're not leaving space for the universe to be able to put some things together. So sometimes that means getting up and going and taking a walk. Just taking a walk around the block or around your area, or going to a beautiful garden, or going and taking a hike, right? Or going and finding a dance class or a workout class that you want to do, and giving something back to yourself and allowing and saying, okay, I'm dedicating this hour. Universe, I'm going to trust you to do your job. I'm going to trust you to bring me opportunities. I'm going to trust you to help me align. Okay. So that's my message for you today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk a little bit more about how do you get more support going forward, and also answer any questions you might have about where you're at, what's going on, and kind of what you need going forward too. So hopefully this has been a big help of leaving space. Yeah, that's just a challenge, leaving space. I'm in it right now with my job, wanting something else. I know. The leaving space, the challenge of challenges in some ways for me, because, we can see I'm a person who I think part of it's a pattern seeking part of me, but I tend to see like all these things, like all these different ways of how everything, can go. But again, you have to be able to pull back enough to allow the alignment. And I can tell you, whether it was something like, meeting my husband, which I couldn't have in 7 zillion years. I mean, I can think I could program everything out and align this like this and da da da. In 7 million years, I couldn't have aligned things the way that they aligned for us to meet in the moment we did. And we were both ready for that. I didn't think I was ready for marriage, but there we are. I couldn't have aligned the things with my daughter. I mean, there was no way I could not. I tried. Trust me, in the adoption process, there's so many details you have to take care of in an adoption process that for somebody who's a detail-oriented person about those kinds of things, I'm not always detail-oriented. It's hard. It's sometimes hard, but that's where that, like we talked in station 7 of blind faith, that this is coming into you no matter what. I could not have aligned those things in 7 million years. I couldn't possibly have aligned the things that aligned to be able to bring our sweet little girl to us. So in those moments right now where I am trying to push or overdoing or not giving myself space or not giving myself nourishment, and I'm just letting you know, guys, I do it too. I do it too. We all have things in our life we want. I mean, for me, my mission is to reach as many people as humanly possible and to help as many people as humanly possible. And I wake up every day with that mission in my heart. And so sometimes that can cause me to just like kind of keep going and push, when really maybe I need space and maybe I need nourishment and maybe I need to stop for a minute. Okay. So just know you're not alone if that happens, if that's how you feel. That is a big, big challenge for me. And so oftentimes I will have to remind myself actively of these moments in my life where I worked really hard for that moment, but then it all aligned perfectly. Okay. So that's my message for you today. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk to you about some cool things, and, bring questions if you have them, bring suggestions if you have them, and we will talk tomorrow. Hopefully today's message is one that can really resonate with you and can sit with you in a way that will allow you to move forward today with faith in yourself, with confidence in your ability to keep going, no matter what gets thrown your way. And with that little extra bit of love and understanding for your process, okay? Because, it takes what it takes sometimes, guys. And just know that when you actively are doing this work, you are realigning. And, even if it takes a little while, you're getting there because you are doing this work, okay? All right. Thank you guys so much for being here, sending you all love and peace and hope, continuing to keep hopefully peace and love in our hearts, not only for ourselves, but for the world, because I know for those of us that are empaths, I know we're carrying, it just feels like there's a lot going on in the world right now. So please keep hope and love inside yourself for yourself, and gentleness, extra gentleness for yourself. And also shine that peace and love out to others as we go out into the world, even in your mind, offering kindness and love to everyone you meet, and just feeling it come out of your heart. Eventually that does change the world. It really does. So sending you guys love and peace and joy, and I will see you guys tomorrow at the same time. All right. Love you all. Bye.